Did you have interest in athletics when you were younger?
I was what you would call a nerd in high school. I didn't really get involved with any of that at all. It was kind of intimidating. My family was not a sports family at all. No one ever really pushed any we didn't even have sports on the television that I ever remember. My siblings and I were pretty much on our own when it came to, what we found interesting in our life to do, I guess, but it wasn't sports. There was some situations when it was hard for me in high school because I started realizing I was different. I tried to express that to my parents, my dad and my stepmother, but it was like falling on deaf ears in a sense. But there was also a lot of dysfunction in my family that, they were very dysfunctional as a family. And so there was a lot of pills and aspirin one event, and it made me, it kind of put me in the hospital. So I ended up, and what's really interesting is when I'm talking to the psychologist about trying to do this, I guess I was just trying to commit suicide. I was a teenager and I wasn't really knowing what my life was going to be. So, so when I was talking to the psychologist, it was like it's falling on deaf ears. Like you would think this is a professional that knows about being gay and being different, and there was no response that would have made me feel any different about what I had done. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of when I just suddenly realized that the health field doesn't know any more than that they don't know anything about it either. And this is like 1970 something. I moved here in I graduated in 82 from Penn State, and then I moved to Newport Richey, and then in 85 I moved to Fort Lauderdale. Like I said, I was sort of a nerd guy, but I did, like in college I realized I did like some kind of sports activities like volleyball and tennis and swimming and all that, and I started really enjoying the physical activity of it. So then when I got to, when I was living in Fort Lauderdale, I had a really good friend his name was Frank. He was a fireman, and we decided one day, I don't even remember how we met, but we decided, because we were involved with SAA bowling, that sort of thing. So we went to an SAA picnic, and somebody stood up on the picnic table and said, "Hey, anybody that wants to do some pickup games at Holiday Park, come on out on Saturdays." And I raised my hand and I said, "Do you have to be good?" Because I had never played in my entire life. I'm 30-some years old. And I said, I think I might try to do this. This might be fun. There was one thing that I had to do, and that goes with the whole, why do we separate ourselves from our family? Why are we all always on our own, kind of thing? And so I did have a relationship when I was here, and it didn't work out. We bought a house together, but it just didn't work out. He was a bartender, and it was hard, schedule-wise, to actually get to know each other. But we kept in contact over the years, and I had just recently, and we're talking, that was around the same time that I was doing right before I did the softball. We had this relationship, and so, but we kept in contact, and I emailed him in January, just recently, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to be in town. There's a big softball event. We should get together." I had not heard from him. So what ended up happening is I got an email like just a couple weeks later from his sister who I had never met, and she told me that he passed away in April, and she wanted to know if I would go to his house. First of all, to get photographs, anything, put it in a box that like would be memorable to her. But she also wanted me to decay the house. And I'm like, what does that mean, decay the house? And then I just started thinking that this is the kind of thing that families do to their children. They just kind of, as an adult, you kind of learn to become adults. And you find family where you need to find it. So these guys out here are, excuse me, are like the family that you have, that you never really have. And you look back and go, gosh, these guys meant a lot to me. And there's one thing that I do recall. I remember standing in Oakland Park, and I'm playing softball, and it's just a practice because I was terrible at like the games. I was like the worst player. And you could ask Dave and those guys, they were like, yeah, he doesn't know when to run. And he reminded me of that this weekend. And I thought it was so funny. But there I am in Oakland Park. Yet it was the most beautiful day. And I'm thinking, this is heaven on earth. This is like, you're just with a bunch of good guys, and you have nothing in your life but this just beautiful game where you just, you catch balls and you run, and it's just, I thought it was just heaven on earth because it wasn't hot like today, but it was just, that whole thing. If you want to know about like what the softball league meant to me, there were periods where those kind of things happened. And I can't really explain it. And to experience it, only these guys can, because they were with people that just were accepting and just loving. Gosh, these people, you remembered. It was the same way as when I went to my ex's condo looking to decay it. I found photos and I said, oh my gosh, he kept those photos. And so it's like, you're so surprised that how what you mean to people, that you never realized it. And I look at it like right now, I'm like, a lot of them don't remember me, but a lot of them do because we ran in circles. But the ones that do remember me, they said they were looking forward to seeing me after all this time. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've always felt that way. I've always wanted to see you guys, there's some that like, that were important to me then. And I was just so excited to see them again, so it was kind of, you kind of are left with that.